have a question for you, sort of an opinion. We see at this point with CrossFitters, the top CrossFitters, a lot of them have a very similar look to one another. Mm-hmm. They're pretty big. They're very cut. And, there's a lot of talk about, they're on steroids, whatever. But what I keep hearing is we're training in a way that kind of really nobody has trained day in, day out for this long a period of time. And this is what you look like when you do that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's accurate, and I think it's for a number of reasons. I think, and they're not big by a bodybuilder standard.
No.
They're very well proportioned, muscular, lean. They look a lot bigger. Rich looks a lot bigger. He's not over 200 pounds, is he?
No.
I think he's 195.
Yeah, right in there. And he looks huge. He looks like he's 230.
Yeah.
He looks massive. And so he's very well conditioned, which gives that illusion.
Jason Khalipa looks jacked as hell.
And he might be 205.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are 200 pounds. And in the bodybuilding, powerlifting industry, that's small. But these guys are very muscled, very conditioned, well-conditioned. Their body fat.
I think it's interesting you mentioned that they're like well-balanced. That's a good observation, because now that I think about it, they're not. No one's like overly big, and one, it's not somebody who has this giant upper back like you might see in like powerlifting or something like that.
Yep. And it has a lot to do with the fact that they do a lot of they train very often, and they train relatively heavy. I know there's some
intensity and frequency is relatively high. All the time.
Yeah. And hypertrophy is benefited from those the law of repeated bouts, and they repeat a lot of bouts.
Right, exactly.
And even the 2-a-day type of training, the morning and night for the shorter duration times, is more beneficial than these 2.5-hour workouts.
Yeah, you did that to get your pro card, right?
Yeah, that's the way we train. And then they fuel themselves. You don't hear of a female CrossFitter cutting calories. She's not eating egg whites and broccoli.
Yeah.
She's eating meat. She's eating
avocados.
They're taking in a good amount of protein. They're taking in some very highly nutrient dense, very biologically available foods.
A lot of them like peanut butter, almond butter, that kind of shit.
Yeah, they take in a lot of fats, they take in a lot of proteins, they take in a lot of animal proteins as well.
And of course, they're going to need the carbohydrates to be able to recover from 2 workouts.
You have to, and I think that was kind of one of the initial things with initial problems with CrossFit is that people were kind of afraid of certain carbohydrates. But you look behind the scenes and see what they're actually eating, and they're eating plenty of carbohydrates. And you need that to fuel those workloads and to be that strong.
I think that is a difference between some of the top-level CrossFitters and some people that do CrossFit. Like Rich Froning is a CrossFitter.
Yeah, and he'll drink a gallon of milk a day.
Yeah, and Oreos. Like they followed him around for a whole day in a documentary, and he like hammered out some kind of crazy workout, chugged some milk, ate 2 Oreos.
Yeah.
3 hours later, he's bench pressing.
He's also, for his hobby, he's like hunting and shit. Like he's very physical. He's always doing something. So
I've always said the workload drives the process. If you're going to train at that level, you're going to need to fuel it, and you have
might need a couple of Oreos,
a box. A calorie surplus becomes necessary for performance improvement over time. Mm-hmm. And these guys, they aren't afraid to fuel themselves, and guys and girls. In particular, I look at the female athletes because they've set a new standard.
I look at them for other reasons.
I hear some people kind of say, when they're trying to lose weight, and you don't even want to get into these conversations sometimes. It might be like a relative or a friend or something. They're like, oh, yeah, it's, 1 o'clock, and all I had was one meal. I had one small breakfast, and you're just like, wow, that is so, fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that?
The shame of that is that, and when we talk about the women in CrossFit eating more animal proteins, more carbohydrates, and working with more heavy resistance type of training, the multi-joint mass building exercises. And then you cross over into the bodybuilding industry, which has been dieting women for competition for, 50 years?
Yeah.
Right.
And we're no better at it today, generally speaking. There's some of us that have figured it out.
When the women are probably... similar, right? I mean,
pretty similar. You
some
want
of the
to
girls
be lean
are pretty
and muscular and
jacked.
tight. Yeah, all your shape comes from muscle. But the point being is that now there's all of these internet trainers that will restrict calories and implement a lot of endurance cardio. So now you have
get them on T3 and whatever the hell else.
Yeah. Well, now you have athletes that have less muscle, because the endurance cardio, the steady state cardio, is obviously going to eat away at muscle tissue, and they've starved themselves to the point where now they're going to rebound off of that.
Right. Set up an eating disorder.
It's frustrating, and that's what's happened in so many cases. If your trainer's answer to every week over week of your training, every next effort to try and improve is to cut more calories and increase more cardio, you need to punch him in the throat. That guy should not be giving advice.
Right.
Because
come here, Smelly.
At some point.